All right, open up your Bibles, if you would, to Isaiah chapter 40. Cobweb. Isaiah chapter 40. We're going to be looking at the very end of chapter 40, verses 27 to 31 here in just a moment. A little background of what's going on here in this passage. When Hezekiah was king, do you remember what nation was trying to conquer the world? What nation? Yes, Assyria was. And Hezekiah, you may remember, he becomes sick. He prays to the Lord. God promises him how many more years of life? I'm sorry? 15 more years of life. And over in chapter 38, at this time, Babylon is on the rise as a nation. They want to overthrow Assyria. The king of Babylon sends a delegation to Hezekiah. Likely, he's probably wanting to gain an alliance with him against Assyria. And King Uzziah, we learned this from Chronicles and the Kings, he is a proud man. He's got a problem with a bit of a pride, and he knows, he's very confident that God is with him, will help him defeat Assyria. And so he begins to show off the wealth of and the might of Israel to this Babylonian delegation. Hezekiah has been afraid of Assyria, but he's not afraid of Babylon. So God sends Isaiah to him to tell him that that's not the nation to be worried about. It's going to be Babylon who's going to rise up and be a threat and take the people of Judah away into captivity. So when we get to chapter 40, Isaiah is now looking ahead to the Babylonian captivity, and he's offering comfort to the troubled that know about this coming and this great time of difficulty. And so now you and I, we have not been taken into captivity, but we do experience times of difficulty, ups and downs in our lives, not just in our life, but even maybe in our country and in the world. But I want us to look at this passage and see some of the words that Isaiah gives these people for comfort, and I think we can also receive some comfort from this as well. Look at verses 27 and 28. He writes, "Why do you say, O Jacob, and assert, O Israel, my way is hidden from the Lord, and the justice due me escapes the notice of my God? Do you not know? Have you not heard? The everlasting God, the Lord, the creator of the ends of the earth, does not become weary or tired. His understanding is inscrutable." So when life really starts to get us down, we begin to wonder, where is God? What's going on? And I think Isaiah does a good job capturing this mood in these expressions. My way is hidden from the Lord, he says here in verse 27. I think he's saying that God doesn't see how difficult things are for me. My way is hidden. He's not seeing this. He also says, justice due me escapes the notice of my God. That sounds a lot like Job's objection, doesn't it? When Job says, I've done nothing to deserve this, but he doesn't see the bigger picture like God does. God, implied here is that God must have gotten tired, or God has grown weary. Those two verbs, tired and weary, do those describe God or the human condition? Which one? Human condition, yeah. It's not God at all. But in difficult times, we tend to put God into this box like you and I are in. Have you ever asked questions like that? Why hasn't this happened? Or God, why are you allowing this to happen? Or maybe you think, maybe God is tired of hearing me ask for forgiveness for this sin. Have you ever thought that? God's got to be tired of hearing my excuses or hearing about this sin again, for me asking for forgiveness. Does God get tired of things like you and I do? And so Isaiah answers, he's everlasting. He's Lord. He's creator. His understanding is inscrutable. These verbs, tired and weary, these are things that reduce God from what he is. But he knows what's going on with us. His ways are not our ways. He doesn't have to ask permission. We always, try to put God in that box. We know how God is supposed to act, we think, in given circumstances. But the point is that God is not like us. He does what he does because he is God. And there are reasons why he may allow us to suffer. But we'll see more about this as he goes on in verse 29. He gives strength to the weary, and to him who lacks might, he increases power. Strength to the weary. This is the opposite of the accusation that God has somehow tired. Instead, he gives strength to those who are tired. To those who are weary in life circumstances, God gives them whatever they need to get through those difficult times. And he who lacks might, he increases power. And those who might lack might are those who are considered weak by the world's standards. They cannot accomplish much because they're too small or they're not strong enough. A small little congregation can't do much. But we do a lot here at North Valley. I know the congregation in Durango, Colorado, they do a lot with that little congregation. Some of the most effective congregations are the small ones that I have seen. God knows our circumstances, and he knows it very well, and he's very capable of helping us. But not only is God capable, but he is willing. Here's Isaiah's point. Look at 30 and 31. Though youths grow weary and tired, and vigorous young men stumble badly, yet those who wait for the Lord will gain new strength, will mount up with wings like eagles. They will run and not get tired. They will walk and not become weary. So here are God's promises. He promises strength to those who, verse 31, wait. Wait. Waiting is a concept we're very familiar with. How often do we have to wait? Wait in line for something. You got to wait on when you make a phone call to somebody. You got to wait to get in there to see the doctor. We're always waiting. But waiting means that we have an expectation that what we want will eventually occur. And it also means that we have to exercise patience, not giving up, and showing endurance. Here's what God does for those who wait. They will soar like eagles, that majestic bird, more noble than the others. It has the ability to fly. It soars far above the earth, and it does with relative ease, exerting little effort. God can help us do the same, to rise above the world, to climb higher than we've ever been, to place us in a better circumstances than we were before. We will run and never get tired. Anyone here run? Where's my runners? Do you ever get tired running? How long does it take before you get tired, Caleb? Can you run a mile without getting tired? No. I'm going to find out how long my kids can run. They have to run a mile. Did you guys know that? Did we tell you about that? You're going to have to run a mile and not get tired. You got to do it in a certain time. Nowadays, I could not imagine doing any kind of run. It would take me about 5 seconds before I get tired. But even when I was in the peak performance back in my 20s and I could run, I would eventually get tired. Could you imagine ever running and never getting tired? They will walk and not become weary. You will eventually reach your destination and you will not wear out. What do you think his point is? How difficult is it to run in this life or to walk this journey? Do you ever feel like giving up? Thinking this is just too much, I'm done with it? I'm burned out? That's the phrase people like to use because you don't find burned out in the Bible. But you know what that really is? That's your journey. That's being weary. That's getting tired. People who burn out, people who get tired, people who get weary, I think they've lost their focus. They're tired of waiting. They want to go home. They want to go home to heaven. They're done. What helps us to not grow tired? What helps us to not grow weary? Trusting in God. There are occasions in our world where we get weary. We have to put up with ungodliness all around us, whether it's online, on our phones, at school, whatever. Isaiah says that God can help us continue through this life in such a way We won't grow weary or give up to the ways of this world. God will help us. He can get us through the worst of it in the difficult times. And these are great pictures of accomplishment that Isaiah is giving us here. Pictures of people who are enabled to do something they thought impossible in their present circumstances. And the picture says that you don't have to remain where you're at. If you want to leave and be free of your present circumstances, God can help you to soar above these things, to run from them, to walk to an eternal destiny in heaven. He gives us new strength. He enables us to do more than we think. Philippians chapter 4, verse 13. You know what that says? Anybody know that verse? I can do all things through him who strengthens me. I can do all things. If I'm feeling like I'm going to burn out, I must have lost focus somewhere. I've stopped waiting for the Lord. My patience and my endurance are waning. Something's wrong. Red flags should be going up. Don't grow weary. It'll happen. We will. We all do it. We all grow weary. We all get tired. We all feel like we're burning out. That's when we need to stop and maybe reset, refocus ourselves. Because it's easy to get off track a little bit. It's easy. Waiting involves, as Joan was saying, trusting God. Waiting accepts the reality that God knows what he is doing in our lives. But we got to be careful not to put God in a box. Man, surely God's tired of me asking him to forgive this sin again. Oh, does he not want to? Have you not read the Bible? Do you think he grows weary? He does not. That's a human condition, not God's. He wants to forgive it. He wants us to go to him with these things, no matter how many times. God is not incapable of helping us. He will do it on his terms, not ours. So our responsibility is to wait. Wait for God to work things out. Romans chapter 8, verse 28. You know the last verse here, verse 31? Yet those who wait for the Lord will gain new strength. They will mount up with wings like eagles. They will run and not get tired. They will walk and not become weary. Do you know what movie that verse is set in? It's an older movie. Yes, Chariots of Fire. It's in that movie. It is given to that Olympic runner as a source of encouragement. That would be a good one to remember. Not just remember that verse, but remember why it's there. That way, when we grow weary, when we get tired, feeling like we're going to be burned out, we will remember to soar like eagles. It's hard to soar like eagles when you work with a bunch of turkeys, right? Have you heard that line before? We may gather from this that we all ought to aspire to be eagles in this world. I do not think God intended for us to live mediocre lives. I'm convinced that he wants us to live extraordinary lives, that he wants us to keep trying. How often have I failed at trying to get Bible studies? Quite often. And I bring up a lot where right before the pandemic, when the 2020 lockdown, I had a lot of studies. So many so that I was actually having to hand them off. I couldn't handle all of them. It was going great. It was going so well, and then the lockdowns. And ever since then, nothing. We've tried one thing and it didn't work. We tried another thing and it didn't work. We tried another thing and it didn't work. We keep trying though, right? Don't grow weary. Don't get tired. Keep trying evangelistic efforts. When I was looking at these numbers today on YouTube, I thought, man, how can we better utilize this? I kept thinking, man, Alex was right. We need to really focus on this and see about how we can better utilize these things on YouTube. One of the things that's come to my mind, I want to try it out on September the 5th. That's Tuesday. Once a month, starting on September 5th, that's the Tuesday at 7 o'clock at night, I'm going to do a Bible study on the YouTube channel. I thought about doing Zoom, but I want to do it on the YouTube channel because everyone knows that channel already. And I know that you have invited friends and family to watch our online services, and it sounds like a lot of you had success doing that. It's hard to get people to actually come to the building, But it seems to be a lot easier to get people to watch online. And we've already got thousands watching or having impressions. And I want to have a small Bible study. And on YouTube, you can have this chat going. And at the end, I want to start answering questions live there on the channel as people bring them in. The first topic I'm going to have is, what is the New Testament church? What does it look like? If you really want to find the New Testament church, look at the book of Acts and you can find it. And you can make comparison to what you see out here and see if you can find it. And then I want to start taking questions. It may start small, with a small group of people, but I believe it can grow. It could soar like the eagles, right? Maybe it turns out to be just another Turkey. But are we going to wear ourselves out? Are we going to get weary and never try again? Well, we just can't do it. I don't have the talent. We keep on keeping on. Don't get burned out. Don't give up. Keep trying, and I hope you'll keep trying with me. Let's encourage one another to look above and beyond the difficulties of life. I like that passage. I hope you will keep that in mind as we look at these things, maybe work on this YouTube channel a little bit more, and who knows? I mean, I could not believe those numbers just in the last 90 days. 1,000 people, almost 18,000 impressions. And we're not even trying to get it out there. We're not even trying. Not yet. We've done a little, but imagine, as Alex had proffered about a year or so ago, if we started pushing that, what would we get then? Tens of thousands. Tens of thousands.